We think institutions are taking it seriously as a new asset class and does seem to be breaking out again. And while the correlation seems to have been close to the market this time around, we're up to nearly 20 million units outstanding now. The most we will ever see is 21 million, and institutions have barely started moving in. We think that the scarcity value of Bitcoin is going to grow. Bitcoin was the first out of the chute, and the Nasdaq and other stock market indicators followed.
캐시우드는 미국의 유명한 투자자이자 아크 인베스트의 CEO입니다. 그녀는 혁신적인 기술 기업에 집중 투자하는 전략으로 잘 알려져 있어요. 전통적인 투자 방식과는 다른 미래지향적 투자의 상징 같은 인물이죠. 장기적인 관점에서 미래 산업에 집중 투자를 하며 폭발적인 수익률을 올리기도 했습니다. 비트코인의 다음 상승장을 앞두고 시장이 준비하는 가운데 우리는 캐시우드의 시장 전망과 향후 몇 주간의 암호화폐 및 비트코인 예측을 듣게 됩니다. 모멘텀이 커지고 기관들이 조용히 포지션을 잡고 있는 지금 우드는 모든 것이 곧 바뀔 것이라 말합니다.
I do think it's very important to look at gold and Bitcoin. So there is a measure, the S&P to the gold price. Which some people are looking at and they're saying, uh-oh, this thing is breaking down. And but there's another measure, and that's the S&P to the oil price, and that measure is breaking out. I actually think gold has been much more of a flight to safety. Oil is giving us a better sense of direction here in terms of talk about a massive tax cut. The oil price coming down as much as it has is probably going to offset a lot of pain out there in a way that many people are not appreciating yet. So that's that. On Bitcoin, yes, we've been watching it very carefully. Like gold, it is a risk-off asset, but like gold, it is also, unlike gold, it is also a risk-on asset. So it has been equivocating in here, but as you say, Ryan, it has held in pretty well and does seem to be breaking out again. One of the most important reasons is we think institutions are taking it seriously as a new asset class. And while the correlation seems to have been close to the market this time around, it is not always this way. If you look at what happened during the regional bank crisis, Bitcoin was the first out of the chute, and the Nasdaq and other stock market indicators followed. And when we got our first exposure to Bitcoin in 2015, Greece was threatening to leave the European Union, and Bitcoin was moving up every time there was a threat. So we've watched it very carefully. And yes, of course, it is risk on also because it's a technology. And a very important technology. It's a new monetary system, a global rules-based monetary system with no government oversight, first time ever. And as I said, a new asset class. So we think it's a very big idea, and that we're up to nearly 20 million units outstanding now. The most we will ever see is 21 million, and institutions have barely started moving in. So we think that the scarcity value of Bitcoin is going to grow over the years as AI is reducing the scarcity value of many other things out there, including labor. If you think about it, AI is going to be overtaking more labor. So labor will become less scarce, right, than it has been. And so the market will be looking for scarcity value anywhere it can find it. That's what the market pays up for, right? And we think Bitcoin will be one of those. As you know, our bull case in 5 years is $1.5 million. So we're at about above 90 in the last hour or so. And we think we're going to 1.5 million. You'll see that it's substitution for gold and institutional investment that are the biggest powers behind this move to 1.5 million. So the third is emerging markets. We think that emerging market businesses and consumers are going to find Bitcoin more and more important over time, and as an insurance policy against confiscation of wealth, which can take the form of inflation, which is caused by bad monetary policies and bad fiscal policies in other parts of the world. And I think it'll be an insurance policy for anyone in the developed or the emerging markets, but anyone with an internet connection can buy Bitcoin, and that's going to become more important over time. Just like gold, and they did part company because, again, Bitcoin does have a little bit more of a risk-on element to it as well. So there was a little bit of payback for last year's performance.
Sure.
But yes, it is a hedge. It is a technology. It is a new asset class. It is a big idea. And so, yes, now I am going to differ with what I believe is a consensus view evolving, and that is that the dollar is going to go down. If we're right and deregulation, tax cuts occur here in the United States, as well as broader-based tax cuts in the form of tariffs coming down everywhere, favoring the U.S., because if you'll notice, there has been unfair treatment, particularly with non-tariff trade barriers, then the rate of return on invested capital in the United States should increase relative to that abroad, and that should be dollar positive. This is what happened during the Reagan Revolution, and in fact, the dollar was so strong that we had to have the Plaza and Louvre Accords, where all of the treasury ministers around the world, including the United States, said, okay, we've got to sell some dollars to relieve some of these liquidity pressures. So I know that the dollar has been quite weak over the last few weeks, since so-called Liberation Day especially. But if you look at it in the context of the very long term, it is still up there.
Sure.
It is still up there. You know, we were on a trade-weighted basis. We were in the 70s in 10 years ago or so forth. And so now we're at 100, and we've come down from 110 plus. So in the context of history, it is not that weak in an absolute sense. In the context of a few weeks, I agree with you. This has been a big move in a very short period of time. President Trump wants to be one of the greatest presidents ever. That's his objective, and he's not going to get there by throwing the economy into a recession and the stock market into a bear market. And we're verging on both of those now. So we're getting close to the line in the sand, where I think his negotiations will kick into gear and will be more productive than what we've heard recently. Stablecoin movement, those are backed by Treasury securities. And while they're Treasury bills, I'm sure there are ripple effects throughout the yield curve. So the stablecoins are now up to 250 billion, and we expect them to go to 1.4 trillion in the next 5 years. So we would expect the pressure on interest rates in the near term here, certainly because of the economy, to be down, to go down. Bitcoin to gold. Gold has had a good run against Bitcoin. Bitcoin did very well relative to gold in 23 and 24, but not so this year. Nonetheless, we do think over time Bitcoin will appreciate relative to gold, and as you can see, it has not broken the uptrend line. The economy contracted almost 4%, that's real GDP growth sequentially at an annual rate in the first quarter. That's a big drop. Now, a lot of that could be imports ahead of the tariffs, and surely that is the case. The offset, though, would be a lot of them ending up in inventory, so there could be a lag there. I don't know. I would say that in the second quarter, the likelihood of a negative quarter is increasing here just because of the amount of uncertainty. Well, we know that about 30% of the labor force is probably wondering if it's going to keep its jobs, or the people in the labor force are going to keep their jobs. Federal employees, now that's not the biggest part of government, but there is a trickle-down effect to state and local, and even to quasi-government jobs in the healthcare and education space. And that would account for 30% of the labor force. Just wondering, worrying, and probably holding back on purchases.
캐시우드는 다음 암호화폐 사이클이 매우 중요하다고 하며 현재 포트폴리오에 대규모 베팅을 쌓고 있다고 말합니다. 다음 상승장과 더불어 올해 가장 주목받는 투자처인 암호화폐 및 기술 분야에서 캐시우드는 지난 약세장에서 포지션을 확대한 후 디지털 자산에 대해 강한 낙관론을 유지하고 있으며 암호화폐 분야에 대한 굳건한 열정을 이어가고 있다고 말합니다. 캐시우드는 폭발적인 성장이 곧 다가오고 있다고 확신합니다. 그녀는 이것이 인류 역사상 어떤 투자 자산보다도 가장 빠르게 채택되고 있는 속도라고 말합니다. 또한 올해 캐시우드의 주요 관심사는 하원에서의 암호화폐 법안 움직임이며 이는 암호화폐 분야에 대한 관심이 커지고 있음을 보여줍니다. 캐시는 현재 시장 전망에 근거하여 중앙화 금융이 대부분의 금융 서비스 기업들의 역할을 대체할 것이라 믿고 있습니다. 우리는 객관적인 시각으로 투자를 해야 하고 지금 당장만 보고 투자할 게 아니라 미래를 보고 투자를 해야겠죠. 010-2472-0429 전화번호로 탈겜이 적어서 문자 보내주시면 2025년 비트코인과 코인 시장에 대한 분석, 정보들 공유해드리겠습니다. 현재 우리에게 중요한 것은 이러한 정보를 어떻게 활용할 것인가입니다. 지금까지 영상 시청해주셔서 감사하고요. 다음에 더 좋은 영상으로 찾아뵙겠습니다. 감사합니다.